There are two important dates you need to be aware of: September 30th and October 18th. September 30th, as in tomorrow, is the last day of the federal fiscal year. That means at 12 o'clock a.m. on October 1st, the U.S. government will shut down. The only option at this point to avoid that from happening is for Congress to pass a continuing resolution to temporarily keep the government funded. The other date you need to know of is October 18th. According to the Treasury Secretary, on or before that date, the federal government will actually default on its debt for the first time in history. We actually hit the debt ceiling back in August, but the Treasury Department has been floating the U.S. government using what's called extraordinary measures since then. But in about 2 weeks, those measures run out. So where are we? Well, the Senate is trying again today to pass a continuing resolution to temporarily fund the government through either October or December of this year. The Republicans have signaled as long as it does not include any debt ceiling language, they'll support it. It needs 60 votes. If it passes, then it goes to the House. If it passes there too, then the president signs it and the government does not shut down. But there's a lot of ifs in there. But don't get too comfortable, because arguably the debt ceiling debate and possible default on our debt is a much bigger deal than a run-of-the-mill government shutdown. Debt default is not the same as government shutdown. It's way worse. And if you want to know the real consequences, please go watch these two videos. They're pinned. And if you don't want to take the 3 minutes to do that, let me just give you a recap of what the Treasury Secretary warned Congress the reality will be. She said failing to raise or suspend the debt ceiling could have catastrophic consequences. It could cause child tax credit payments to stop for 30 million families. It could delay Social Security payments for 50 million seniors. And there'd probably be another spike in unemployment. Not to mention all the other economic disasters to Wall Street, your loans, mortgages, interest rates, military pay. This has never happened before. And for all of you screaming, stop the spending and it'll fix it, no, it won't. The debt we're talking about is money we already spent. It was approved by both Republicans and Democrats. Increasing the debt ceiling does not authorize new spending. It just pays the bills we already have. The damage is done. The bills are now due. So House leadership is considering putting forward a clean bill to raise or suspend the debt ceiling till 2022. Whether that will pass in the House is anyone's guess, and the future is completely uncertain in the Senate. A slight bit of good news and a little more bad news. So the House passed a clean bill to temporarily suspend the debt ceiling until December of 2022. There was nothing else in the bill but suspension of the debt ceiling. That final vote was 219 to 212. 2 Democrats voted against it and 1 Republican voted for it. Rather than raise the debt ceiling by a specific amount, sometimes lawmakers suspend the debt ceiling for a period of time to allow the Treasury Department to borrow what it needs in that time frame to pay the bills. That's what Congress did the last time they dealt with the debt ceiling in 2019 while President Trump was still in office. They suspended the debt ceiling until August of 2021. Now here's the bad news. This bill needs to now pass the Senate, but unfortunately it's doomed to fail because it needs 60 votes. If all 50 Democrats and independents vote yes, 10 Republicans would also need to vote yes. And at this point, the Republicans have held firm that they will not vote to increase the debt ceiling. Again, so you're clear, raising the debt ceiling does not authorize any new spending. It just allows the government to pay the bills that are due, bills that both Republicans and Democrats have racked up over several years. Yes, Democrats can technically raise or suspend the debt ceiling on their own, but there are 2 major problems with that plan. First, doing it would take a reconciliation bill, and logistically, there really isn't enough time to get that done before the October 18th deadline the Treasury Secretary has set. It could happen, but it'll be really tough. And second, raising or suspending the debt ceiling has always been a bipartisan effort. In years past, it has been a benign, nonpartisan exercise. But in recent years, it's become a political football. So yeah, just chalk that up to one more Washington dysfunction.